Wait, don't move. The opposite of triggers is called what? Glimmers, exactly. Good job. Hey, I'm Pierre, a licensed therapist, and this is the series where I'm using somatic psych theory to help people learn their autonomic nervous systems, develop healthier relationships with themselves, and even eventually build stronger communities. So, for those of us who didn't know, what is a glimmer? So, I feel like people are pretty familiar with what triggers are. And if you're not, please check out the previous video I have on triggers. But here's a quick rundown. So a trigger is something that reminds your body and your autonomic nervous system of a past traumatic experience. When a trigger comes along, your autonomic nervous system in seconds starts comparing this current situation to any similar situations that you've experienced in the past. And then in seconds, your autonomic nervous system starts to make its decisions and make its moves before we're even consciously aware of what's going on. When we're triggered, our critical thinking and our reasoning turns off, and all the physical sensations, the emotions, the thoughts from the original trauma and any other time that you felt even remotely similar comes rushing back to you. So glimmers, on the other hand, are basically the nicer feeling sibling. So just like a trigger lets your autonomic nervous system know that it's time to activate survival mode, a glimmer is something that activates our autonomic nervous system's vagus nerve, that should sound familiar, to let us know that we are safe. That's why some smells can remind someone of home, why a song can remind someone of good time. Those are glimmers that are reminding our body of times that we felt good, that we felt safe. Stress and trauma causes us to disconnect from ourselves and each other. Think about how much harder it is to sleep consistently or to eat food when you're feeling super stressed. Or think about how much harder it is to answer text messages or even to feel emotionally connected to somebody when you're feeling overwhelmed or otherwise out of it. Or how many, if not all, of your hobbies tend to get put to the side or put on pause the moment your stress levels just get a little bit too high. One common misconception about somatic work, about healing, about doing the work is that it's all about stress tolerance and deactivating triggers, which is just not true. Just like it's important to learn your autonomic nervous system, to learn your body, to learn yourself, your gut, in order to figure out how your body responds to stress, it is equally important to learn how your body responds to the little pleasures, the joys, the peaceful times, the things that excite you, things that motivate you and stimulate your interest. Those are equally as important, if not more so. What kind of person are you when you're not fighting for survival all the time? Who are you and how do you respond to the people around you, the world at large, and even future possibilities when you are not in a regular state of crisis? Glimmers, along with other somatic strategies like grounding and the body scan, are part of the process of getting reconnected to our bodies, intuitions, and community relationships. Remember, because the autonomic nervous system is faster than the conscious mind, it is technically the root of our emotions and thoughts and even our actions. Your autonomic nervous system senses a danger or a stimuli of some kind and activates. Then the rest of your body responds. Cortisol gets released, adrenaline gets released, your chest, you might start feeling things in your chest, might start feeling things in your stomach, you might get restless, you might feel warm, you might feel cold, you might get a headache, you might feel tight, you might feel heavy. And then your conscious mind, right, your conscious self interprets these sensations as your emotions and creates a story, a narrative with your thoughts to explain why you're feeling this way. So if someone's goal is to understand their thoughts, to feel and manage their emotions, and to change their behaviors, it all starts with learning and building a relationship with your autonomic nervous system. So you can use glimmers, aka the little pleasurable, pleasant, interesting moments throughout your day, as a tool to regulate your nervous system. And you want to start gentle and easy. The goal is not to force yourself to be happy. One, you can't do that. Two, forcing yourself to be happy could overwhelm your nervous system and could actually make you feel worse than you felt before. You could become even more dysregulated. Instead, what you're doing is giving yourself a little dopamine boost, just enough that your nervous system can handle it without becoming overstimulated or overwhelmed or irritated, and you can benefit from it at the same time. You're literally learning how to recharge and how to pour into yourself. All right, so let's talk about practical applications. The goal here is to get curious, specifically about how your body literally physically responds to pleasant, new, and interesting things. I strongly suggest you check out my past videos on play and rest here, because glimmers can be playful and active, they can be restful and low-key, and everything else in between. Some common glimmers to start with, if you're trying to, start nice and easy, could be a nice cup of tea or coffee, a meal that really comforts you, a video that makes you laugh, taking a walk outside and slowing down and maybe even grounding yourself into the present moment to really enjoy what you're seeing. Cuddling with your pet, even spending time with your loved ones. Notice how these examples are relatively chill. You want to choose things that give you a little bit of a zing, a little dopamine boost, without putting too much stress on your body. And even good stress can be stress, right? Even having a great time or doing things that are normally fun for you can be stressful and overstimulating if your body is not in a place to receive it. That's why sometimes you may be crying in the club, because maybe going to the club was a little bit too much at the time. So you can either curate your moment or you can find the moment, right? It's up to you. Curating moment can look like wearing your favorite robe, putting on your favorite show, having your little tea, and just enjoying the vibe, right? Or searching for the moment could be going outside, going to the park, and seeing the birds in the trees and the squirrels on the ground, or watching the snow fall. You could go outside and watch the sun set or the sun rise. You could go to an art exhibit, and just enjoy the visual stimulation. One approach to enjoying these moments is to ground yourself into the present. And again, if you don't know how to do that, or if you're not sure, I have a video literally showing you how to do it, so check that out. And then doing a body scan. Again, I have a video on how to do that and why it's helpful, and modifications for chronic pain, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please go check that out. The reason why you want to ground yourself into the present and then to do the scan is you want to make sure that you are, one, present enough to enjoy the moment, and two, able to enjoy how your body is responding to the moment as much as you can. Again, remember, the point of grounding is just to get you to the present moment. Imagine if you're trying to enjoy a good moment but you weren't present. That is a waste, And then if you aren't particularly comfortable recognizing the physical sensations in your body that at the root of your emotions and thoughts, then the body scan is a tool to help you gain awareness of what is going on in here. And aside real quick, if you are dissociating a lot or dealing with a lot of anger or anxiety all the time, like consistently and constantly, you are going to need a different, gentler approach. Remember that chronic and complex traumas and stresses make our nervous system more sensitive. And that sensitivity needs to be accounted for whenever you're doing somatic work. So for those of us with high levels of stress or dealing with PTSD, like complex traumas, people who are living under systemic oppressions, in addition to the personal and interpersonal traumas that and stresses that they are experiencing, you are going to need a different approach. And don't worry, I will literally explain this more gentle approach in Unit 4. We are currently towards the end of Unit 3, so soon, I promise. If we don't do a gentler approach in these situations, you could end up re-traumatizing yourself or overwhelming yourself. And honestly, who wants to do that, right? So not only does working with Glimmers help to connect you to yourself and improve your relationship with yourself and to reduce stress, but it also helps you connect to other people. Glimmers specifically activate and support the vagus nerve, meaning learning how to intentionally sit with and soak up the glimmers in your life not only helps to regulate your nervous system and release dopamine, but it also helps you rest, connect emotionally with others, and even have the capacity and the desire and the motivation to nurture your community relationships. In my clinical work with clients, one of the first homeworks I give involves paying attention to and using somatic tools to sit with the small glimmer moments in their day. I can start with once a week and slowly increase until they're working with glimmers every day. The purpose of this is to help people slowly start to pull their nervous systems out of their low power mode, shut down, dissociated, depressed survival response. Slowly come out of that feeling of being overwhelmed and fatigued and exhausted, and in general to reduce the stress levels in their bodies. Glimmers are invitations to pause, to recharge yourself, and or even to connect your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, to the autonomic nervous systems of the people in your lives. Regular exposure to glimmers helps you have the capacity to even have the desire to be connected to people and to even want to build community in the first place. And sharing glimmer moments with people builds community connections and makes them stronger. This is also part of what makes healing possible in all relationships. Being cared for in emotional and practical ways, even just asking for help and having your request being answered, it helps us to unlearn the past lessons that we learned from traumas. It helps us to unlearn the stories and narratives we create about ourselves and about the world from a dysregulated, from an disconnected place. And it helps us to replace that with perspectives from a regulated place, perspectives from the wisdoms that we learned over the years. The version of you that you are when you're chill, the version of you that can critically think, the version of you at peace, giving that version of you more of a say, even in stressful times. And these interpersonal healing moments between you and other people help you unlearn thought patterns, unlearn other behaviors that you learned through trauma that may have been helpful at one point in your life, but is now holding you back. Also, intentionally experiencing glimmers alone or with other people helps you keep your prefrontal cortex on in the face of the stresses of life. And keeping your prefrontal cortex on more often helps you critically think, manage your emotions, build stress tolerance, and keeps you mentally and emotionally flexible and open to new experiences and sudden changes, which is going to be really, really important. Glimmers, when used intentionally from a somatic perspective, give us the dopamine and clarity that we need in order to make better decisions for ourselves and also to make meaningful and sustainable community connections. All right, so the next part will cover the basics of self-regulation finally, right? If this video chapter was helpful to you or interesting in any way, please consider joining my donation-based private practices $3 Patreon, directly sponsoring somebody that you know. Or if you are a licensed therapist, consider seeking somatic therapy supervision at my private practice, and all donations and supervision fees go directly to providing free pro bono somatic trauma therapy to low-income Black people. Thank you so much.